Hello. I'm
Hello.
here to talk about comic books.
It is a disembodied consciousness talking to us at the moment.
Don't all talk at once. No, it's good to have you guys. Very cool. I literally just finished today Justice Warriors. So that's nice and fresh in my head.
Okay.
So welcome to the show. This is Comics and Chronic. Our whole deal here is we like to smoke, maybe eat an edible. I definitely had an edible like about a couple hours ago, so it's definitely on the rise. And we like to talk about comics too. It's our whole thing.
It's true.
It's what we love to do. Your comic is Justice Warriors. We're here with Matt Bors and Ben Clarkson. It's easily one of the most unique comics I've ever read.
For sure.
All right.
Good. That's what we were going for.
Very, very unique.
It kind of felt like tripping while reading it in a weird way. There's a lot going on in the best way possible.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a psychedelic element to the world and to Ben's art.
Yeah, it's all very intentionally like bonkers.
Yeah, but it's also like really meta.
What do you mean by that? Tell me what you think is meta about it.
I mean, like, you guys have the Libra gang, this Zodiac gang, being one of the most toxic borderline terrorist organizations trying to bring their brand of justice. But you also prop up these two cops, Shit and Swamp. And for the most part, the cops, as in real life, are seen as like almost this fascist enforcer of a industrial militarized police organization. So, but like, you're kind of like on their side in this. Like, I don't know. It's pretty. Yeah, maybe meta wasn't the right word, but it has me thinking for sure.
Good. That's a huge compliment. That's basically what we were hoping to do with the book is make something that's a wild ride, but then leaves you with a lot to process because of the genre conventions that we don't repeat.
I like that.
And the thing you said about sort of siding with the cops or questioning that or whatever, it's like, they're depicted killing innocent people, but I also think innocent mutants, but I also think we tried to make Shit and Swamp fun characters. And obviously it's not a pro police comic, but the antagonists you mentioned, they don't have the proper solutions either. And what we really wanted to show is that how the system sort of perpetuates itself. And you see, I don't think this will spoil too much, but you see in the end how some of the things are sort of integrated into the mayor's speechifying and his policies, and who's like the celebrity mayor of Bubble City.
Yeah, maybe for the audience's benefit, we can like describe even the basic premise of the book.
That's true. Yeah,
because it's pretty over the top, right?
Yeah.
Like we're talking about a fascist police force, but it's inhabited by very cute cartoon mutants. So Justice Warriors is the story of Bubble City, which is the world's first perfect city. There's no crime, there's no inequality, there's no material wants. Everyone is perfectly satisfied, and it's encased within this giant crystal dome. The only problem is the vast mega slums stretching to the horizon just outside of the dome. And this area is called the uninhabited zone, which is densely populated by criminals, which have to be stopped. So the Bubble City Police Department, we follow two officers of the Bubble City Police Department, Swamp Cop, who is a literal swamp monster, and then Shit, who is a literal piece of shit. Both police the zone and protect the bubble. And that's basically the setup of the comic. And then it gets wilder from there.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately, like, my thoughts go to how much of the characters start off as like a swamp cop and a piece of shit, and like their actual like characters. Like what's the order of that?
Yeah, Ben designed all the characters before we met up, all the main characters, so he should talk about it.
Yeah, it's Swamp Cop was the first thing I came up with. There was no Bubble City. It was like a Super Troopers ripoff in my head. There were drag races when I was developing that. It's taken me like a decade of working on my own before I even showed it to anybody, this comic idea. And I really just, I was developing it as an animated series, and I got really fed up with waiting for things to happen to me as an artist. And I sort of flipped, I broke, and I just started showing this thing that I was working on to everybody and taking way too much time working on it instead of having a job. And eventually I showed it to Matt, and then that's how this thing got started. But the first thing I had was Swamp Cop, who's just like a gilled orange fish who wears mirrored glasses and you never really see his eyes. And then I was like, who's his partner? And that took like, honestly, 4 years to figure out who his partner was. And then it was just a piece of shit one day. And I was like, great. And from there, I sort of just kept pushing stuff into this container that I was calling Justice Warriors until I showed it to Matt. And then, Matt, you want to tell the story of us becoming best friends, besties forever?
Well, how did you guys link up?
Well, Ben DM'd me in the summer of 2020.
Literal cyber harassment.
Which you might remember. Summer of 2020, there was a lot going on.
Oh, yeah.
I vaguely remember.
I was living in Portland, Oregon, and there was also, addition to everything else going on, there was wildfires encroaching on the city. Oh,
shit, yes.
It was,
oh, my God, yeah.
It was totally nuts. So just randomly, Ben messaged me and wanted me to check out this. He had made Justice Warriors animation, like a little spot to try to fund a series. He wanted me to write for it. And at first, I just, I saw his message and I didn't respond, or I didn't click on the link or whatever and forgot about it because there was 10,000 things happening in the world and I had a baby at the time. And then I don't know when it was, Ben, if it was a week or 2 weeks later or something, you messaged me again. And I just saw it when I was on my phone. I had time to look at it and watch the animation and was like, oh, this is like right up my alley. I mean, this was the type of comic or animation that, I would want to make myself. So we just hit it off, started talking about ideas, and, I co-write the comic, and I do some drawing for like backup features and stuff. But so I guess to continue the question from earlier, Ben designed this world, the prince, the chief, swamp and shit, main characters, and the concept of Bubble City and everything. And then we started writing it. I mean, there was already characterizations that, he had in mind. I mean, the prince being a self-obsessed celebrity and, the basic setup of, but, as we work to refine the buddy cop drama, the buddy cop dynamic, which we're playing off of, which is sort of, there's the rookie and then there's like the grizzled or disturbed veteran in Swamp's case. So, we just started, riffing on that and then figuring out who these characters were. So it happened, over a course of many years.
I feel conflicted because the mayor, the prince, was such a douchebag, but I mean, he also looked a lot like Prince, both in the face and the hair. And, and I'm a huge Prince fan. I'm like, oh man, I don't want.
Yeah, Prince, the musician rules.
Yeah.
I love him.
You should be in charge.
Yeah. Agreed.
The world would be a better place.
Yeah.
Well, he did more economic stimulus in the comic than Joe Biden. So, so he wouldn't be all bad.
Yeah, I love the prince. He's like one of my favorite characters to write. I just act like a 14th century French dandy. And I'm like, I got it. I'm ready.
I loved his cabinet of like these influencer douchebags who were sucking up to him all the time.
Yeah.
Those guys were fun to read. Reading this comic, and I could totally see like how you were saying that you wanted to pitch this as a show. It had like certain elements, and I would love to see this on like Adult Swim. I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I pitched it to Adult Swim, and because if you're just like a guy who's working out of your spare bedroom and you don't have like an agent and you've never been a producer on something before, you can show someone your idea and it might be a great idea. And they'll say like, oh, that's cute. And then they don't answer your emails after that. And showing the work to Matt was one of the first people. And for this, I'm always super grateful and happy that he's my friend. He was one of the first people who were like, hey, this is awesome. This thing that you've made is great. And I was like, yes, somebody else believes in this thing. And like now Matt is fully Bubble City pilled with me.
No, that's awesome. Like I could see it as a TV show too, because I mean, not that it needs to be, but like it feels so alive. Like that's what I really loved about this comic. Like there was, and when I say going back to like so much going on, like the background characters, like it felt like there were like B and C stories happening that I was kind of like picking up subconsciously. It was weird.
Hey,
like
the networks can call us up anytime.
Yeah, anytime.
We're not insulted by that. You saying you can see it as a show. I mean, that's, Ben starts as an animator. He wants it to be an animation. I mean, I would love to write the show as an animated show, because we have 1,000 ideas for this world that actually would, that fit for like longer stories, like the trade paperback we have out, and then something could just be like 30 minutes on, a certain aspect of the city or a certain crazy premise.
Yeah, those backup stories felt that way as well.
Yeah, we really feel like the world of Justice Warriors is the main character, and you can tell 1,000 stories in this world. That's what we did it for. This isn't like a 1-volume comic. It's intended to run as long as we can have it run, So we want to do a volume a year, and each one kind of focus on a different aspect of society. So like elections in one, sports in another, like the drug trade, stuff like that.
Going to be like The Wire, but with
exactly. It's The Wire meets The Simpsons meets RoboCop.
Yeah, no,
nice.
It really is The Wire like that. So The Wire plus Simpsons plus RoboCop is like
that's a perfect way to pitch this. Hell yeah, that'd be awesome.
When you're in the elevator or you're in the pitch meeting and you're like, yeah, it's Simpsons meets The Wire.
The Wire meets RoboCop.
Yeah, let's do
it. That's genius.
Yeah. All it takes is one impressed executive to change your life, right? All it takes is one guy to go, that is genius. You're right.
No, and you guys did a great job as a team together, because when reading it, I felt like I was actually able to physically hear each character's voice.
Oh, cool!
There were parts where I was reading it out loud in what felt like the characters' voices to myself.
Oh, I wish you were recording that.
No, I want to hear the Prince voice. There's some lines I really like by the Prince.
You can do it.
I would need to pull up a thingy. I feel like I could do swamp and shit really well, but
let me hear your swamp. Oh,
give me a line or something.
I like, one of my favorite lines was, I think Swamp has a green gun suddenly.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's for mental health awareness.
It's for mental health awareness month.
Yeah.
I love that one.
That was a funny line. You guys had some like zingers in there. Let me get a little more high and that'll.
Yeah.
Matt, we were trying for, we're trying for a lot of jokes per page and jokes per panel. I mean, I don't know whether they're successful or not, just for other people to say, but like we tried to get something almost in every panel, if not, every page for sure, but also have a real story and, actual politics and stuff. So we're trying to merge the lowbrow, adult animation stuff and a talking pile of shit and stuff like that with highbrow.
Yeah, like Futurama was a big reference point for me, because like
Futurama did have those vibes. Yes,
yeah, because it has these it has the characters, like there's strong stories between the characters. There's like the sci-fi, so the morality tales, classic sci-fi stories on top of these characters that you like, and then in the background of a lot of frames are really, really nerdy jokes for like the nerdiest nerd who's never nerded. And I was like, okay, but can we do those jokes with like philosophy, political philosophy, like history? Can we just have like a hyper literate world and then have a poop as a character?
We say yes.
Yes,
we say
hell
yes.
No, not only yes, but executed very well. And that's what I meant about like the whole meta thing is like, you think on the surface, if I were just to flip through the pages of your book and show it to someone, they'd be like, okay, a talking shit, a bunch of like random, like they'd be like, this is stupid. But then it's like, no, like actually read it. Yeah. And it goes so much deeper, but you're using these fucking, like, to me, it had all the best elements of like Idiocracy and BoJack Horseman and Robot Chicken and Rick and Morty and like put into one, and it was fucking. I loved it. It was awesome.
Great.
Good.
I don't know if any of those elements are accurate to you guys. But
well, no, like we're trying to do like, as Matt said, like high and low, high and low at the same time. So like on the surface, you're sort of being comforted by how adolescent and immature it is, but it's for adults. Like it is for intelligent thinking people who ask themselves like simple questions about like, what is justice? Like that's a hard question. And like, it might be overwhelming to like engage with it. And maybe you don't want to engage with it. So you can laugh at the poop getting splattered on the wall.
yeah.
It helps with the darkness of the overall story and themes of Justice Warriors to make it such a massive cartoon.
It definitely fit like with, so we've had him on the show and I mean, I'm a big fan of his comics. Mark Russell, a lot of his comics feel that way too. I guess he also does a lot for Ahoy. Like I feel like Ahoy is this new imprint that like they're like sliding in with like these amazing comics that I'm not hearing about until like, first of all, I'm not really seeing them on shelves like single issues, so it's hard to find at my like local shops. Even if I like try to pre-order it, it's kind of weird. Like that imprint, like it's hard to find. But like what, like I'll be honest, I didn't hear about Justice Warriors until Ben had like messaged me about it.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw it, I was like, yes, this comic, me, I want to read. You know, like I gravitated to it so hard. But I feel like there's something with comics where like I would consider myself a extremely avid comic reader. Jake reads a lot of comics as well, but I still missed it. And I hate that because it shouldn't be that way. It's such a gem.
Well, that's interesting to hear because first we're with Ahoy. They're a small independent publisher. They're great, by the way. Like, great to work with.
Amazing.
I mean, they pay pretty good advances. It's a creator-owned project. I mean, they're not buying it from us or anything. They're just an independent creator-owned. I mean, like a lot of them, they're out there right now. But also, I know that many of them, don't pay for shit either. So Ahoy's pretty good. And I think there are stores where they don't even order a lot of the small indies, because if they don't have someone putting it in their pull list, like Superman and all the mainstream stuff, that they're not just going to buy 5 copies of all these different books from Vault and Hoy and Mad Cave or whatever. So they just don't get on stands in every comic shop unless the retailer like thinks that they can sell it. So, but we have had a lot of success in trade because I think this is a comic that's not just for people who go to comic shops on Wednesday. It's for people who are interested in, like we're talking about, adult animation and politics and stuff like that. So, buy the trade. Most people read stuff in trade anyway now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I'm actually surprised at how much of a hit it is now. People have been talking about it a lot, and it's gone from like nobody, like a couple outlets gave us like amazing reviews and we're as ecstatic about it as you guys are. But, you don't hear about it. It's not a DC title. It's not a Marvel title. It doesn't have a superhero behind it that has like a culture behind it. And for something that's like completely like it's the scribblings of a crazy person. And for someone to like hear about and be like, yes, me, that has been like wild that it's been doing so well.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear. And going back to your comment about how it's for like the nerdiest of nerds, there's a panel early on, I think in the first issue, when they're talking about the mutants. And then I guess you had drawn what looked to me at least like the mutant from Dark Knight Returns with the Cyclops sunglasses. And I was like, oh, that's a cool little, because those were called the mutants. And I was like, that's a cool little nerd detail I liked.
Yeah, there's a lot of, even thematically, a lot of Dark Knight Returns in the book. Like those, we have these pages where you get to see the inside of everyone's brains from their like media output.
Yeah.
And those are like heavily influenced by those television segments in Dark Knight Returns as well.
Well, and and there's a lot of background references to all sorts of random stuff like Ben, because it's a world where everyone outside of the bubble is a mutant. And we take that idea to the extreme. Like there's already been mutants and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Top 10 by Alan Moore, where everybody in the city is a weird superhero mutant or cyborg or something. So we're trying to go as far as, we want to outdo Transmetropolitan and Top 10 and like all the big city metropolis comics. So every character can be anything on Earth, right? It can be a tongue with eyeballs. Ben
I was about to say the tongue.
Yeah, but there's also, it's not just you can be a tongue or you could be a walking baby rattle, but you could be drawn in like R. Crumb style. Like you could be like a walking animation, or there's actual like cell cartoon characters that exist in that world, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, there's a lot of if you pore over the pages. So a big part of Justice Warriors 2 for the listener is massive crowd scenes and like aerial shots of like just hundreds, thousands of characters pouring out into the streets to be beaten horribly by riot cops, who are also all weird mutants themselves. So in all of these crowd scenes there's lots of little references and jokes. Like Eon Flux is in there, all of the cops from the show Cops, which was a very obscure Canadian produced animation show about future cops, which is also
well, you got to clarify when you say
I thought you meant like bad boys, the cops.
There's this really obscure, and Matt and I both knew it. And the second that Matt knew it, I was like, oh, we're connected. We're on like another level. He's my spirit brother. It's like this future cop show for kids. And it was really just a toy commercial. 100% it was just a toy commercial. But
it was called just Cops?
It was called COPS, like as an abbreviation for something.
Yeah, it was on
City Organized Police Services.
It was like it was on in 1989 or something. So if you're for like one season. So if you're a certain age, if you were born in like 82 to 84 or whatever, you remember seeing this show one year. And if you looked up the intro on YouTube, you might be like, holy shit,
it's unbelievable.
It'll bring it back. But it's really cool. It was for a kid's show, it was really cool. And it stuck in my mind my whole life as like cool character designs, weird cyborg criminals and cops that have like, whatever, a grappling arm or a machine gun that comes out of the one guy's stomach.
Yeah, there's like a brain in a jar on one guy's head. We like even one of the main characters of Justice Warriors, Ratzinger. He has that brain head from the Cops show,
which I think it was Dr. Mindbender was the G.I. Joe guy, but it's like something Dr. Bad Vibes, I think it is.
Dr. Bad Vibes?
Oh my God.
Is that Ben?
That's like when I smoke an indica.
Yeah.
Oh. It sounds like the arch enemy of the podcast.
Yeah.
He's our Dr. Doom.
Bad
Yeah. You gotta pull up some Dr. Bad Vibes imagery for your that's
the show
images.
That's the show thumbnail right there.
Yeah, put a joint in his mouth. It'll look great.
Oh yeah,
Dr. Bad Vibes.
But hold on, all that the Cops animation show brought up something. The way Ben responded, because Ben is Canadian. So
okay,
did they have?
I wouldn't have agreed to this. No,
did they have the Fox show?
We did have the Fox show
Okay.
Cops in Canada.
Okay.
I once made a supercut of an episode of Cops with a laugh track, and that was a very early like. What if I made something like this?
Yeah,
I'm just realizing it now that was like a little test of Justice Warriors.
That's so cool. So I do have to ask, in your art process, creating these characters, like, do you ever is weed ever involved in that process to come up with ideas, or when you're actually drawing?
I wasn't smoking weed then when I came up with most of it. I started smoking weed again when my daughter got old enough that I was like, yeah, this is fine. This is easy. I can be a dad and stoned some of the time.
How old was she? 5 months old? Or what?
It was about 2 weeks. I was ready to go.
I got the hang of this.
Yeah, this is easy. She just sleeps. That's a very funny joke for parents out there. I use it sometimes for ideation. Like I'll go for a run and smoke a joint. And like the whole time I'm like, I'm just Justice Warriors. I'm just thinking about I can't stop thinking about Justice Warriors. Like it's been like 2 years, and all Matt and I have ever said to each other is like, what if there was a tank that talked? And like, so I'll go for a run, and then I will like a crazy schizophrenic person, just pull out my phone and be texting Matt ideas. And then, yeah, it's just, it speeds up sometimes the process of coming up with certain jokes. Sadly, sometimes I come up with jokes and then I forget them later. And I'm like, I should have texted Matt like a schizophrenic.
I don't smoke a lot. Because I have asthma, but I do edibles, which once edibles came out, I got back into weed. I was like, This is great. Where was this at my whole life?
I like that you have a healthy mindset, because I also have asthma, but I still smoke.
I did hit a joint tonight because it was all I had. So I kind of keep like a backup joint for when I run out of edibles. I haven't gone to the store yet, but I really want to be high. That's nice. Where the joint actually comes in. So I did smoke tonight.
Nice. This is a question for Matt. Okay, so Matt's also now stuck in Canada. He was a COVID refugee.
Oh shit.
So in Canada, we've totally legalized weed now. It's all legal, and each province. So there's provinces in Canada for the degenerates out there.
All my Canadian geography is based on wrestlers. I only know that's the only reason I know.
And so each province, because of government, runs their weed system different. And like ours in Quebec is like mega regulated. And like you can't get gummies or cookies. You can only get weed infused broccoli.
What the fuck?
Whoa.
It's awesome. I'm actually fully for it. Because it's like they tried to think of like, what don't kids like? Broccoli, cauliflower, figs, which I'm a little questionable about because kids love figs. So what do you get, Matt? Do you have weed broccoli?
I have no idea what you're talking about. And I am going to go online and look at this.
Yeah, I want to try that.
This sounds ridiculous. No, I'm in Ontario. I mean, it's a pretty normal system here. Normal means it's government regulated, and you can only get a small amount of edibles per pack, but you can go in and buy 20 packs or 20 joints or whatever you want. I lived in Portland before I came here, and it was legal there. So I would say it seemed maybe a little less regulated there. But then around here, you can go on First Nations reservation, and they have weed stores everywhere. And then you can get, whatever, a 100 milligram rope or whatever you need. And I don't get that. I don't get so high that I need shit like that. They have like the insane quantities and all that stuff.
Yeah, no federal law on Indigenous land.
Nice.
That's interesting.
We can't flex like that in America.
Yeah.
In the United States.
Well, I don't know. What is like, I don't know the answer. This is like Navajo Nation legalized weed, but Arizona hasn't, or whatever it is, like, I don't know.
I really don't know. That's true. I wonder on reservations, are Native Americans allowed to grow marijuana? Probably.
Well, you guys might think about this stuff more than me. I don't know how grow laws work, but I feel like America's more restrictive in this regard.
I feel like we've stumbled upon a business opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about the broccoli. I want to call it rockin' broccoli.
Yeah, broccoli. Yeah, I love it.
Do they have different names for different like strands of broccoli or whatever?
I guess they would. I gotta look that up. I've been meaning to go see some really stupid movie and eat some broccoli. But I haven't done it. Like the edibles are just recently legal in Quebec. Quebec is the French one for the degenerates out there.
So do you live in like Montreal? I've been to Montreal before.
I do live in Montreal. I have to speak French to like buy groceries. It's crazy.
Oh, I'm actually going to Montreal in August for my honeymoon.
Amazing.
Oh, nice.
We'll hang out.
Come on,
you'll eat some broccoli.
We'll eat some broccoli.
Oh, I can
leave your wife behind.
Yeah.
She'll want some broccoli.
Well, I don't know if you can fly with it, but you could come home and bring some broccoli and impress.
I'm actually driving, so yeah, I could.
Oh, okay.
I could bring it back to New York. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. You should.
Thanks for the plan, guys. You're in on it. Sweet. When the Canadian Mountie pulls me over, that's when I'm telling them.
We're here on tape saying it's a good idea.
I'm going to play the podcast. No,
we're funding it.
Listen.
I had a wild time in Montreal when I went. It was crazy.
It can be a crazy town. Like it is. There's some crazy places. There's some wild clubs.
It got really scary at night, to be honest. Yeah, it got like kind of dark at night, and I don't mean like physically dark. It got like Interview with the Vampire when they're in the French Antonio Banderas scene dark. And I was like, but also I should preface that my friend and we drove up there on a whim, did like a 3-day weekend there, and I brought some Molly with me at the time.
Okay.
That I don't think was the best Molly and was probably more meth based. Because the night got really weird and dark and super uncomfortable to the point where I was like, I would just want to go back to my hotel room.
Yeah, Banderas vampire meth is
exactly
not a good time on Saint Denis Street.
Yeah, and then also, I guess prostitution is not legal there, but it's kind of like turn the other cheek. Yes.
So
I'll get to why I'm going with.
Who you asking for? Yeah.
No, because what I experienced there.
Yeah, in Montreal there is an established set of sex clubs where you can go, and if you pay the right fee, all sorts of wild things have been opened up to you. And they're like these multi-level establishments all through downtown. Like there's literally one super sex, which had like this. It was on like a major thoroughfare downtown, and it literally had like a Supergirl with her tits out. It's just on like a street that is now like family-friendly restaurants and movie theaters. And the owner recently burned it down for the insurance money.
Holy shit!
So, and the entire community mourned the loss of an institution.
When I went, I just remember walking around like all the bars, and I felt like women were looking at my friend and I was like, are these women interested or are they like on the hustle? And I couldn't tell. Like I was so
you were on meth.
Yeah.
I was on Molly. It was like but no, like people were like looking at me, and then they would come up and ask me for a lighter in French, and I was like, I don't know what you're saying, and it was just
Weirdly, that's the cue for Cody to enter the room. We just have to say meth like three times, like Beetlejuice.
Hey, fuck you! I heard that, bitch.
Cody, be nice. We have guests.
Yeah, well, I'm not calling them a bitch. I'm calling you.
Good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Wow.
Hey, I left my lighter. Oh, wait. No, I didn't. I found it.
Cody, turn on your camera.
Yeah, your camera's not on.
Oh, shit. My bad.
It's okay. We were just talking about me doing meth and banging whores in Montreal. So
hell yeah, brother. Have I missed much? Are you guys just getting into it?
No.
You've been at it a while?
Yes,
yeah, we're almost done.
Well, I'm so sorry. The restaurant industry is not kind.
It's not conducive to podcast schedules, huh?
Yeah, it's not conducive to any schedules. You know what I mean? It's the kind of thing that, like, I was about to be able to walk out of work at 8:05, and 5 minutes before we closed, 2 tables walked in.
I love that.
Hungry people.
Yeah,
Hungry
but it's
people need to
okay.
be
I mean,
kicked to the curb.
it's okay. It's more money. You know what I mean?
But as the saying goes, mo money, mo problems.
Yeah, and my problem tonight is being tardy.
Only tonight.
Yeah,
only tonight. This is the first time ever. Well, I guess I'll jump in with my. I finished Justice Warriors today. I loved it. What a zany, fun little ride. I love the like meta commentary of like everything socio-political, but also like done in a very like lighthearted and like almost carefree way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, why worry too hard? You can't change anything.
Like it's just like it wasn't too I mean it wasn't too heavy-handed is what I'm trying to say, I think.
Good. No, that's a honestly a perfect review. That's what we want to hear from people. That's zany. Zany is literally a word that me and Ben would talk about, because we were like,
we would
we're
argue about zaniness.
we're
Yeah.
talking about serious political issues and stuff, and how zany should we actually be here? So we're trying to strike a balance between zany over the top violence and some politics, like you said. But it's definitely, in one way, I think it's I might say it's like the most political comic on comic shop racks. But we're also not trying to beat people over the head too much or force them to come to a certain conclusion or anything.
Absolutely.
We're setting up what is political about society. And we're not telling you, God, shoot me in the head if I ever become this guy, like who to vote for or what to think about it. Like, you are an adult who has come through your entire life and you have learned all of your moral and spiritual lessons that have brought you to be the person you are. You can read a book and not have it like beaten over your head how to think or act tomorrow.
I think that's what changed like the reading experience for me, where like, when I'm reading something, I have to like pick a character, I guess, to connect with.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that here. I was just like, well, I kind of like this guy, but he's shit. He just did that. But I love that about each character. So I think that was really cool. That's what like really stood out for me character wise. Like the design fit the complexity of their characters, I guess.
I also want to say I am thrilled that there wasn't much character growth by the end of this arc. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, these people, they got so close to learning things and then they just didn't. And I kind of love that.
No. Again, that's great, because we didn't. Well, before you came on, we were talking a lot about how, a template for Justice Warriors is a lot of adult animation, from the Simpsons and Futurama to other stuff. And it's not episodic in the way a television series is. It is like maintaining the status quo of the system is a core principle of what Ben and I were trying to do. It like, we didn't want, like, if the cops got woke and they were like, no, everything is bad, and then they like helped the gang overthrow the city, or if there was kind of a lesson in the story that way, where like good guys win, or it didn't feel like honest to what we were trying to do.
And I love that. As someone who takes a long time to learn anything, I really resonated with that.
Yeah, well, most people do, I think, is the reality. That's the one of the hard lessons of Justice Warriors, is it's very hard to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're stuck with the world physically set up in a certain way. And this is something I keep like finding really funny about Justice Warriors, is like everyone is acting like there's not a giant mega city that's sucking up all the resources right in the middle of their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's pointing at the mega city as the problem. They're like, oh, the people who are running the mega city are the problem. Oh, it's people who were born in July who are the problem.
That I can agree with.
I didn't think it was one of those podcasts.
We got to get
clearly
on
you
the-
don't know my star sign.
Yeah, Ben, we gotta go find a Zodiac podcast that's willing to have us
that'd be-
on, and like,
That'd be great.
Yeah, honestly, you should.
Zodiac podcast.
Yeah.
hilarious.
We're gonna do
Yeah.
cop podcasts and Zodiac podcasts.
Are there cop?
exclusively.
Like pro
There's
cop?
100.
There's
definitely
gotta
are.
be, right?
There
There's gotta be a
definitely
whole
are.
ecosystem.
I mean,
Exactly.
definitely. I just am so that thought never. I mean, it's definitely a thing, but that thought never even crossed my mind until this very second.
I'm willing to bet my left nut there's a pro cop podcast out
Yeah,
there.
no, thinking about it now, I'm only imagining the different subcurrents of podcast culture, like, true crime, where they like recount cases, and then like the one where it's just like guys being like a zoo crew.
Yeah.
Crew Blue Lives Matter.
Excellent.
That's so funny. Oh, and then there's going to be like the worst, most sanctimonious, like liberal reform police podcast called One Bad Apple.
That's hilarious.
Who knows, man? There could be a stoner cop podcast.
Oh,
you guys.
So-
A stoner cop podcast.
Then
So you
have
guys, you guys had mentioned, and I saw the trailer that it was influenced by animation. Did you do comic first because it was more attainable, or what?
Comic second because it was more attainable.
Okay,
Like we had talked earlier in the pod.
Sorry,
if you had been here.
come on, dude.
But yeah, it's a good question. So I came to Matt and I showed him this animated thing, and I did everything I could to get funding. But I'm just like a guy with an idea. And if you gave money to everybody who had an idea, man, wild world. But Matt pitched it as a comic because he knows comics. This is my first comic book. I've never drawn a comic book before in my life.
Oh, okay.
What?
Which I got to say, I mean,
Nice.
for the
Holy
listener, if
shit.
you haven't read it yet, like Ben's art is top tier. This is not amateur stuff.
No, the
Yeah,
art,
exactly.
the art is like legitimately great art. I made this comment to my friends, and I'm not going to name any names, but I've definitely read some like indie, like creator published comics that like this is of that genre of thing. This is a fantastic one. Like you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
I'm not saying that like it's hard to support like the super underground comics, but it's the same thing goes with like bands. They're not all going to be great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, yeah, 100%. That's how I
And
feel about a lot of indie art myself. But yeah, so Matt pitched it to me as a comic, and I was like, okay, like let's make Transformers 12 as a comic. Like make it a big dumb action movie, and it worked out. Like everybody likes it, which is something I'm really happy about.
Yeah.
Nice. As like doing your own publishing and stuff like that, how has the process of getting the word out there and stuff been? What's that been like for you?
We're doing a lot of podcasts.
Nice.
I mean, we're with a small publisher for one. So
Okay.
it's not like they put $1 million behind it or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure.
There's not a lot of, there's like regular comic book sites, but unless you don't read those, there's, it's not like Justice Warriors is getting covered in the New York Times or anything. So beyond your social media stuff, and selling it to your own followers, I mean, everyone that's trying to make an indie comic happen is hustling that way. I mean, just, promoting themselves online, trying to get followers and stuff. But I mean, really what we're trying to do is talk on podcasts about it and reach people that are interested in like cool comics and politics and, Ben's crazy psychedelic mutants.
Nice.
And it helps that, people seem to really respond to it. Like I keep saying to Matt it's easy to sell a good product. Like we're very proud of the book. I'm always thrilled to the gills that people are getting so much out of it.
Nice.
It's kind of hard not to like connect with it in some way, like because of like just the plethora of like how many mutants there are, and just like it's like if this comic was a weed strain, or you had this like a bag of this comic was a bag of weed, it would be
Warriors weed.
Justice Warriors weed would be the densest nugs ever, because you'd break it apart and there'd still be more, and you'd be like, what? And you're like, I need to smoke that again. Like I don't know what just happened. I need to smoke. Like it's the kind of comic where as soon as you're done with it, you're like, I need to read that again. Like there's so much in it. Like I can't stress that enough for anyone who hasn't read it. Like even the trade, each issue is larger than like a standard issue. Like there's more in it.
Yeah, we
there's
get in
more
trouble
bang for
for
your
that.
buck. Oh, that's awesome.
We're doing 24 and 22 page comic books. Most are 20, and I do 2 backup pages, and I did a backup short story for the trade. I mean, the publishing environment right now is you do a mini series, 5 or 6 issues, and then if it's successful, you do another one the next year, and then that's what we're going to do essentially. But it used to be you could kind of launch it ongoing and keep it sustained, and that's not really, I think less people are going to comic shops or whatever, and they buy stuff in trade. But we want to get to like an omnibus. Like I want a Marvel sized omnibus, when we have 12 volumes of Justice Warriors, and then it's like, okay, now we're ready for our whatever 1,400 page omnibus. That's honestly the goal of where
I
where we're
want
going.
One Piece. I want that goes to the garage.
That's hilarious.
It should be like leather bound, nice leather
Yeah.
bound.
Well, I got
Orange
I got a
leather.
lot of large comic collections. Like I have all the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hardcovers. It's like
Nice.
this wide, and I got a ton of Judge Dredd's, and that's what I want. I want one block of a shelf for Justice Warriors.
Nice.
I love that goal as a comic creator for sure.
Well, because we have so many ideas too. Like I can't. Matt brought it up earlier. Like every 2 days, Matt and I are like, okay, well, that's another book. Like that's another one-off. That's an episode of a TV show. That's a season.
Yeah, it's a world. It's a world to tell stories in. I mean, almost endless.
Like we can do everything in it that we want to do. And then even when we sit down to write, so we may or may not be writing another one right now, according to if we can talk about that, I don't know. We have to leave stuff out just for room because we have so many ideas. Like there's entire issues that just because of the publishing environment now that we can't do and just have to be excised from the drafts that we're doing. I can gush all day. I'm pilled on Justice Warriors. I'm a Justice Warriors machine now.
Junkie. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm high on my own supply.
Hell yeah.
You broke the number one 10 crack commandment. I really liked it in one of the panels. There's the angry face emoji guy there.
Oh yeah, the crowd scene. I remember that.
Yeah, that's what I loved about looking at your guys' book. Is one of those where you can stare at a page for like a decent amount of time because there's so much detail.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail that goes into it.
Yeah, it's jokes, like little jokes to reward you. And then there, even in the writing, there's like entire subplots in the book in the backgrounds of these pages.
Yeah.
And there's jokes in the backgrounds of like there's one panel in issue 2, and I remember it really clearly because there's a piece of graffiti that says "Hell is otter people," and there's like 4 other jokes in that panel. That's just the biggest joke in the panel.
Nice.
I just like that you had the fucking chief of police getting shot because her videos were cringe.
Yeah, the chief is a cybernetic police chief who is what is she? She's super online and obsessed with her menchies at all times.
Yeah.
So she's constantly talking about it, and
The lingo you guys use also is very funny.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time like developing the specific words like splort.
Yeah.
Because a long time to get splort.
and glob as like the
Glob.
deity that they glob they'll say
Bleats.
or something, and there's bleeding and video drop, which are like the Twitter and YouTube analogies. Yeah, we did spend kind of a comical amount of time like coming up with the philosophy of the world. Like where are we? Where does this take place? Is it in the future? Is it a future dystopia? Did World War II take place in the past? If you referenced something like Twitter, does it exist, or is there an analogy to it? If hamburgers,
We have to assemble a council to
yeah,
answer these questions.
if hamburgers exist, does the taxonomy of the word hamburger, does that mean that our world existed in the past of this world? So not to get too crazy about it, but it is like we're like, okay, all brand names need to be different, and then even like substances are like soda might not be called soda, right? It might be. We haven't thought of this yet, but
Bubble drink. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's bubble
Bubble
drink.
drink.
Bubble drink.
Yeah, bubble drink.
It's crazy how much thought needs to go into world building, and that you could have so little of it while you still have a world that feels fleshed out. It's kind of insane.
Yeah. Well, obviously it is trying to riff on our own world very heavily while being sort of an absurd mirror or an absurd caricature of it. Maybe is the better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the book satires everything, even like the comic book industry as well, or
Yeah.
satires like the characters. I mean, there's so many good like analogous things, even just like the Star Junkies like
Yeah.
Starro and shit like that. So it's like going back to what you said earlier, like
The pretty obvious Nick Fury reference too.
the Nick Fury, like
Yeah.
it is a comic book nerds comic too.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be a nerd, a
No, you
comic book
don't need
nerd
to
to
be a comic
enjoy
book
it.
nerd. No,
it's just
definitely
part
not.
of the.
But if you are, there's another layer to it. Like,
Yeah.
as a comic book nerd, I can enjoy this because I get certain references that others might not.
Well, and you mentioned Rogers. He's the veteran cop in the beginning.
the
and
Nick
it's not-
Fury cop.
Not
Yeah.
a big of a not a big spoiler at all. He dies in the opening scene, and he has an eye patch, and he's like a tough guy cop. And so he looks like Nick Fury, but also he's like Snake Plissken. He's like he's that archetype. And so we wanted to kill that guy in the beginning of the series because it's like that, like the hero, like the badass hero. That guy is actually wiped off of the
Dragged across concrete. Yeah.
He's
Splattered.
run over by a bus. And this is actually his traumatized partner getting a new partner who's dumber than him.
Yeah.
So I guess the point is there's you can see it as Nick Fury, but also it's like an archetype that other people are going to get because Nick Fury was pulling from the same bag, right? Like he wasn't exactly original.
Yeah. Who knows who the first one was, but somewhere along the line, people were like, "Let me get a one-eyed man with a short sides of his hair." And
just design me a guy who looks like he's been through shit and is very competent.
yeah,
He's badass. He's missing an eye, but now he's kind of the silver fox leader of the.
yeah. But I do love that he was also very much just like everyone, all the other cops, a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the whole. It was
everybody, and even the social movement, the Libra Gang, is intentionally shown as, they start out having a critique of the cops and the economy, and it's easy to agree with. But then they're spouting all sorts of nonsense, and it's pretty clear that having them in charge isn't going to work out.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's really no clear answer. And I like that too.
Yeah. And, with the social movement, like Libra, we were pulling from a lot of different stuff. I mean, we were writing this in 2021. It's definitely inspired by QAnon and, anti-vax stuff and that.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, it has elements of the left in it. I mean, obviously,
for sure,
their critique is like against police and the economic rule of the bubble. But we're sort of satirizing like the liberal buzzwords and social justice language that gets sort of like co-opted and then repeated by corporations and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, it's like it's first day of Pride Month, which is when you see a lot of that stuff, right? It's like
exactly
all these corporations turning their logos to rainbows and putting out Pride Day tweets. So it's like satirizing that type of stuff a lot too.
performative bullshit.
Yeah. Because all these corporations also have like a red state brand that is there to catch any business they'll lose from their blue state brands.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean they're just there to make money, and it's that was shown like all the way up to like the mayor being a pop star was made so much sense.
Yeah, well, after Trump, I mean, you gotta, if you want to exaggerate. I was doing political cartoons and I was doing Trump, and I was sick of Trump. Everybody was like, "Oh, you have so much material and all this." I was like, "I hate it. I hate having to do it every week." And but we had to go further. We had to go further than I think Idiocracy tried to, at least.
I think you succeeded.
Yeah, definitely did.
But I also like that, like the whole Libra Gang, their belief in like horoscopes and astrology. That there is a very like I live in Los Angeles, and there is a very like toxic element to those who base their whole life and their judgments on things like astrology, as well as like Jordan Klepper from Daily Show went to Erewhon, which is like a big health restaurant or big health grocery store in Los Angeles during COVID, during the primetime pandemic. And the people who are all into like health and wellness, a lot of them out here in the West, they tend to have like certain right-wing sentiments.
Yeah.
There's an entire to be like, oh, I'm so in touch with, and it's like, but you're kind of conservative too.
Yeah, it's some other people have called it the crystal mommy to fascist pipeline.
Exactly. I felt like Libra had a little bit of that. I mean,
a lot of it. A lot
of it. They're extremely woo woo. I mean, goes without saying.
Exactly.
And there is a lot. I mean, we're also satirizing the fact that people are into that stuff. Sort of, it's sort of semi-ironically caught on to be into tarot and the astrology stuff.
Yeah.
But people don't take it literally necessarily, but we wanted to show there was a lot of other stuff that people are doing that's kind of, weird. Like at the time too, we were writing in like 2021. I remember there was a story about how like teens on TikTok were developing Tourette's syndromes from listening to Tourette's influencers, and they were starting to get like, tics in their voice.
Yeah. Tourette's became contagious through social media.
No, is that true? Is that real?
Yes. It's
that's a real thing. Like
because Tourette's is only a cluster of symptoms. So if you psychosomatically develop it from listening to an influencer, that's Tourette's.
Imagine being so influential that you give people diseases over the internet.
But it's like the time we were writing this and the time we were reacting to is one of the craziest times in I think most of our lives.
For now,
it'll
be worse.
And like the COVID and lockdowns and like the everything that happened out of that, the protests and the social battles over masks and vaccines and everything, there was weird fallout from everybody being like online and doom scrolling and for 2 years. And I think one of them was people spending too much time on TikTok and developing Tourette's syndromes. And for other people, it was like you're talking about in LA, these people are also getting radicalized into anti-vax stuff. And I think going back to your original point, though, is that the substantive critique under the Libra Gang thing is these people do not have a material analysis for what's going wrong in the world. They actually don't understand the conditions of the world and what could make them better because they ascribe things to another system of beliefs that isn't true.
Yeah, there's this mystical explanation for them, and we're making fun of explanations of the world that don't include a critique of the bubble. So sorry, Matt.
No, that was all.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
And there's even one really marginalized character in the book, like a tarot card reader who presents something like radical politics, but is totally marginalized in the book, in the world of Justice Warriors. And they even like blow up her shop and they think she's doing woo-woo, but she's literally expressing the closest thing that Matt and I have to a point of view in the book.
And you kill her off.
Yeah, we blow her up. No, we crush her under a pile of money.
Yeah. That's the best. That's the best way for, a Marxist to go. That's essentially what she is. So we're trying to be unsparing, right? Like we want to laugh at everything. I mean, we're going after social media shit, and it's not like we're trying to we want to give it to both sides equal. It's not like that.
It feels like that.
Well, it's because Matt and I have a very specific critique and a very specific point of view, and we don't articulate it or like beat you over the head with it. But our critique that we share, our politics that we share, makes sense. And when you explain it in like cartoon logic to people, like I always talk about cartoon thinking. Like everyone thinks of the world as a cartoon. Like we don't understand the world. We don't even really see people. Like if you look at neuroscience, you're like hallucinating half of your consciousness anyways. People are just cartoons. Everyone's just Daffy Duck to you. Like you don't really know people. You don't know how the banks work. It's like when Daffy Duck goes to a bank, when we go to the bank. But when you explain or you create a story around how we think things really work, people respond really well to the story and the logic of this system and this critique and this satire that we've made. But if people were to tell you with like the brand names of the ideas, everyone just locks up and cringes because that's politics, man. And something we wanted to do with something that's always been really important to me is like, how can you get people to think about these ideas without using the brand name ideas that make them lock up and cringe? How can you get people to think about these things and have fun? Because it has to be fun, especially in the world is going crazy. That's not just like a media thing. Like the world is going totally nuts. How do you get people to think about it in a real and honest way, and not beat them over the head and make them shut down? And Justice Warriors has been so far like proof that we can do it. Come join us. Take the Bubble City pill.
Nice.
Drink the bubble soda.
Drink the bubble drink.
Yeah, bubble drink. Nice.
No, that's really cool. I really like talking to both of you. Like, makes me appreciate the comic so much more. Like, and I mean, I need to go back and read it because, again, dense. Like in dense, that's a positive. I'm trying to say that in a positive way. There's just so much to mine in this comic. I think if you've never read a comic or you read a lot of comics, you should check this one out for sure.
But it also works still. I'm sales pitching my book. It still works only as like a stupid Bad Boys satire, right? Like it's still just an action movie on the surface.
Going back to, I take it, going back to the Wire reference and how we touched on the Wire earlier, I would almost like to see their relationship develop into a Jimmy McNulty, Bunk Moreland relationship.
Ooh, yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, well, we do plan on keeping this going. So we got to work. Swamp and Shit are like the central characters.
Swamp and Shit
appear in the main characters or maybe the side characters, depending on what we do. But they're always they're always going to be in there.
Nice, that's awesome.
We'll always have Swamp and Shit.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Thank you guys.
No,
sorry I was late.
Oh,
it'll never happen again.
That feels true.
You think if enough people listen to the podcast, they'll start mimicking Cody's voice? Like it's his laugh. I mean, it's like uncontrollable. Like you start laughing like Cody.
Yeah, Cody, you should use TikTok to like give people.
No, absolutely. And then it's unfortunately gonna spawn a violent social movement that will take over society. Like, how did this evolve into this? What's going on? It's like Scientology, and you have to laugh like that.
The louder you laugh, the more access to the church you get.
I'm on laughing level 7.
Ready for my laugh audit.
It costs me $35,000 a year.
That's awesome. Speaking of zany things, something we do here on Comics and Chronic is we tend to like judge things on a Joe Pesci scale.
Okay.
So
fair.
Like, yes, exactly.
1 to 6 Joe Pesci's.
Yeah, 6 being a perfect creation of, we do a lot of comic books, comic book movies, so we'll judge it on a Joe Pesci scale. 6 being perfect.
Like Watchmen, we'd get a 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, and others.
And now is it what's the Joe Pesci reference? I mean, is it
we just love Joe Pesci.
We just love Joe Pesci's.
and
can you give Joe Pesci movies like 3 Pescis?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, not everything Pesci has done.
You would be hard pressed to find a Joe Pesci movie. That
what's a 1 Pesci comic?
We gave Wonder Woman 1984 1 Pesci.
Okay.
Yeah, deserved. Yeah.
I think Thor: Love and Thunder got really bad Pesci.
Yeah, we didn't like that one.
Joe Pesci.
I didn't love that one myself.
I'm skipping all these. I've given up faith in any of these movies.
Same. I'm gonna watch them because we have the podcast, but I'm not gonna be thrilled about it.
Yeah, the podcast was our pandemic project, and this is what we're forced to do now.
Now we're just watching every Marvel movie until we die. But we wanted to give you guys our Pesci rating. You're also the first guests that we've had on. We were like, yeah, we were like, these guys seem like they got a good open mind. We're gonna give them a Pesci score.
Pesci me to my face. Yeah.
Also,
yeah, Pesci you to your face, exactly.
But also, it would be weird asking you guys to Pesci your own material. So we want you to Pesci us on a scale of 1 to 6 on our interview skills.
Yeah.
Jake and Tony get 5 Pescis.
Okay.
Cody,
Fair,
because you
that's
showed
fair.
up late, you were only able to get 2.
That's reasonable for this
If
interview.
you had been here the whole time, you would have accumulated all 5 Pescis, maybe even pushing the entire group.
Oh no, there's 6
Up to
Pesci.
Well, no,
there's
If
6.
you want to give us a
Six
perfect
is-
No,
six is a perfect
I'm
score.
saying maybe it was a perfectly fused unit.
Okay.
A Tony Jack Cody. You could have gotten 6.
Yeah, but
All
me,
your fault, Cody.
I brought everyone else's score downs with me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cody.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you guys are. It's
Do
like
you,
my cousin.
do you give us the same score?
Yeah, I was gonna say that 5. It's like you're like my cousin Vinny, right? You're
Yeah.
a good.
Okay.
Exactly.
See,
He gets the Joe Pesci scale. Very
yeah,
few do.
I'm gonna say a 5. Joe Pesci is my cousin Vinny. It's like they gave Pesci a lot of scenes to chew in that one. It was just like, let's make a comedy with Joe Pesci in it.
And it has the young Marissa Tomei.
Yes. And I don't know what a 1 Pesci is. I'm trying to think of what's the most ridiculous, terrible flop of a movie he's been in. I can't think of anything.
Probably
off the
his
top of
music career or
Oh,
whatever.
That's true. He did release a rap album.
my head. What?
Yeah, Joe Pesci.
That is a real thing.
Yeah, and it's all like mafia related,
Like
really
mafia
bad.
lyrics, just like
Yeah,
stereotypical like Italian New York shit. That
Hold on.
it was
I didn't-
But he released
bad.
it. It's a real thing. It's
That's
That's when you
Well,
take the tape out and replace it with the return of Bruno.
He actually he started as a singer. He started as a singer and then he became an actor. Yeah, he was like a 60s like he
Lounge
does like
singer.
yeah,
kinda.
like he does like Frank Sinatra type music.
See, I've learned so much on this podcast tonight. I did not know. I mean, almost like a mind-blowing experience because I did not know the truth of the world. I didn't know that we lived in a world where you can get high on broccoli and listen to a Joe Pesci rap album.
exactly.
That is insane to me. That's what I learned tonight.
Yeah, well, you're welcome, buddy. Maybe that brought our score up in the end. Maybe an extra half a Pesci.
Well, yeah, we appreciate your honest Joe
Yeah,
Pesci score of us.
Very few people have had the honor to
That's true. This is
rate
the
on the Joe Pesci scale.
Yeah, so I'll jump into it, even though I was late. I'm gonna come off swinging. I really loved this comic. The art's fantastic. The comedy is right up my alley. It's zany. Jake mentioned it in text earlier. He was like, this would fit in on perfectly like on Adult Swim. I really enjoyed it. I just like got baked and read all of it in an afternoon, and like I took my time with it, but it was like when I say an afternoon, I mean from like 10 o'clock in the morning to like 3 p.m.
Classic afternoon.
It felt like an afternoon. It's a good, easy world to get lost in. But yeah, so I'm giving it 6 Joe Peasies for me off the gate.
Nice.
I'm seeing some Pesci-flation here.
Yeah.
Pesci-flation.
No, I mean, I would put this if not, we gave Mortal Kombat 2021 6 Joe Pesci's.
Okay, well then that's fine.
Okay, I don't feel too bad now. I mean,
Yeah, there's honestly no rhyme or reason to the
No.
Pesci scale.
6 is you liked it, and
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also gave Super Mario Brothers with Bob Hoskins a pretty high Joe Pesci scale.
yeah.
Bob's
Yeah.
great in it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that movie. Underrated.
It's the guys who did Max Headroom who did it.
I don't know Max Headroom.
You don't know Max Headroom.
No,
My
I don't know
gosh,
that
you guys.
Either.
Max Headroom was this like early MTV digital avatar experiment.
Oh,
I know what you're talking
So
about. Okay.
these video artists created Max Headroom,
Oh,
and then
shit.
off the strength of Max Headroom, they got the Mario Brothers movie, and they wanted to make it like you were inside a video game and crazy. And then like the producers got their mitts on that movie. This is a theme of Matt and I's podcast appearances is movies where the producers got involved.
Oh, shit.
That
Well, there
definitely
was
seems
also,
like
we know that there were also like, everyone was coked out on set and like in the writers' rooms and
Dennis Hopper was there, of course.
Yeah, I mean,
Dude.
that's if he's in the room, I think you gotta.
You got a contact high.
Yeah,
I don't do cocaine anymore, but I would. If Dennis Hopper, I know he's dead, but if he came to me today and said, "I've got some blow for us, Cody," I'd say, "All right, Dennis, let's do this."
Anthony?
Oh, I'm next. I think you should go
Yeah.
next. You should go next.
Mm.
It's the
All right.
proper. It's the proper order.
I really loved it. I had a lot of fun. I really like the art, like the story. I'm giving it 5 Joe Pesci's.
Ooh.
And it's only because you're Canadian.
I'm used to it. We're bleeding Pesci's over here.
For me, let's see. This was one of the best comics I've read recently, actually, and it's one I'm gonna say go buy Justice Warriors because like this is don't wait for the omnibus. Buy it now.
that'll take a while.
Because no, it's really different from everything that's been on the shelves recently. I think, especially for imprint like Ahoy. Like Ahoy, just in general, is doing great stuff. But this, you told me in the DMs you were working on this for 10 years.
Yeah, I've been working on it for more than a decade at this point.
Wow.
I think it was 10 years when I showed it to Matt. So now it's been 13 years.
Oh, wow.
I've been a schizophrenic weirdo.
Nice.
But I don't think you could discount that fact because working on a project like this, like you could tell how much work was put into it. And I just loved it. 6, easy 6.
Oh, sweet.
Boom.
Pesciflation is real, guys.
Like high average.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, I'm not just buttering you up because, like Anthony's right. It's a very unique. When you open up a comic, these are not the kind of tales you would expect to see. You know what I mean? And it did it masterfully. I think you guys were
Yeah.
fantastic.
I feel like as a collector, because of like, hey, I'm huge into independent comics. I do like Marvel and DC, but I'm deep into like independent comics. I would like to own this like on a shelf.
Yeah,
Because it's good and different from the average run of even what's out there independently too.
And those are really like the kind of comics we love reading and talking about. I mean, like not every comic is superheroes. Like comics could be more than that. And I think should be more than that. And I think a lot of people just kind of always just connect comic superheroes. It's not that. And this isn't that. And I love it for that. Like we read Snagglepuss, love Snagglepuss.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just not the same as everything else. It's just like, yes, let's do more of that. Take chances and like I respect it.
yeah, yes. Snagglepuss is good. You said you had Mark Russell on the podcast. Does he? I know him, but does he smoke?
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
No, we got to get Mark Russell high, Matt.
Ooh.
I know him from back in Portland. He's a good guy. I've known him for a while actually, but I don't know if he.
Let's get him.
No, he
gets
does
high or
not
I was actually
partake.
just
Get
curious
him into
of,
a room with Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, that changes everybody's fundamental stance on drugs. wherever you're at, if you go into a room and you're 2 Joe Pesci's on drugs on the drug question, and you go in a room with Dennis Hopper, you're going up to a 5.
Easily.
Free
Yeah.
Pesci contact high every time.
Next volume of Justice Warriors, when we give it the inevitable 6, you can put it on the back of the book. Comics and Chronic, 6 Joe Pesci's. People, what the fuck does that
100%.
mean?
Yeah, we are going to have a second volume for sure. I mean, it's not
Hell
official
yes.
yet, but we're working on it, and
It's going to be wild.
yeah,
wild.
we're going to start writing and drawing it.
Nice.
We already
Hell
are
yes.
writing it a little bit.
Yeah, I can say it's much bigger. It's Bad Boys 2 to Bad Boys.
Oh, yeah. That's all you had to say.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on, guys.
Yeah, dude. Sorry
Yeah,
I was
pleasure.
late.
Oh, it's all
You
good.
guys were a treat.
No,
Yeah.
wild card, chaos energy. It's good.
This was a fun time. You guys are welcome back anytime.
All right, we will do it. Thank you.
We'll be back on broccoli.
Yes.
Take care.
Okay.
Later.
Bye, guys.
Take it easy.
Hi, you're listening to Comics and Chronic, and I'm Jacob H.
I'm Cody Cannon.
And I'm Anthony Iannaccio.
And you can tune in every Thursday to hear new episodes of Comics and Chronic.
And make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Comics N Chronic. That's comics, the letter N, Chronic.
We'll see you guys next week.
Woo!
Peace.